Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. I hope you're having yourselves a fantastic morning this morning where sports meets that thing called life. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we have a jam-packed show for you and an incredible opportunity to speak with you on so many different pieces of collegiate athletics and college football and the climate and what's going on. So I'm very excited for the opportunity to do that with you here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. So thank you so much for being here with us and hanging out with us inside of the Cafe Football studios. Cafe Football with you on 3501 James Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, inside Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse, on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, as well as on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners, right there in North Syracuse in their drive-thru location. So however you're connecting with Cafe Football, let them know that Wake Up Call sent you and fill your cup up today with your favorites. If you've never been there, their coffees, their teas, their chais, everything out there for you. Fantastic and made locally. Chais are my favorite. And of course, they have their fantastic chocolate chip banana bread. They have the chocolate chip cookies. They have their upstate sandwich and so many awesome breakfast sandwich opportunities as well. So many great things happening at Cafe Football. So thank you for those of you that go out there and support local by going to Cafe Football today. A cup of coffee goes such a long way, and I appreciate y'all going out there and doing that. So with that being said, today is a very interesting Wednesday. Typically, it's Dolphin time. Typically, we have you inside of a conversation with the Lemoyne College Dolphins, but we did a double dose last week when I was on the road, and we had a special with Paul Galvin giving back to Lemoyne College and the community, and then we followed that with a special with Sarah Hunter, one of the future Dolphins, coming from the Baldwinsville Bees. She has one more season there inside of the classroom and on the girls lacrosse team, and then she'll be joining Allison Cole from CNS, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago doing her special. Sarah gave us a special of what a future Dolphin sounds like and telling us her story and so much more. So I'm very excited to have featured two very special Dolphin dives, one featuring Paul Galvin, an alum of Lemoyne, and one featuring a future Dolphin in Sarah Hunter coming from our community of Central and Upstate New York in Baldwinsville. So great to have the future and great to have someone who's been a part of the Dolphins both on the show at the exact same time, or exact same week, I should say. So very excited to be able to share that with you, very honored to share that with you, and very much looking forward to everything we'll be doing with the Dolphins. Also, every Wednesday in hour number 2, between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we bring you the Fantasy Football Power Hour. But we brought you that 2 days early because we wanted to jump right into it immediately after the title game happened in the NFL. So I wanted to bring that to you instantaneously, right on the heels of it. So Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com joined me for a 2-hour special on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and came on there inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 2 days early. And so that put me in a situation here where things are going to be a little bit different this Wednesday than your typical Wednesday, than your typical Dolphin time, as well as your typical Fantasy Football Power Hour, because we did a lot of these specials earlier on. So with that being said, it opened up the opportunity for me to bring you an all-new special, which I'm incredibly excited about bringing you. So looking so much forward to doing this morning, as I had the opportunity to speak with American Athletic Conference Commissioner Mike Aresco, and he will be joining me to talk all different topics on his open letter to college football. We will discuss that open letter that he sent out to the press on college football. We'll talk about why he wrote it, key points within the letter, the expansion of the college football playoff, why he would like to expand it to 12 instead of 8 or 10, name, image, and likeness, the transfer portal, the NCAA versus Alston court case, will the AAC go back to divisions, when will teams be leaving, and when will teams be joining the AAC, and will there be an in-person media event for AAC football in the summer of 2022? As you know, we used to meet in Rhode Island, at Goat Island, there in Newport, Rhode Island, right on the water, and we did not end up meeting there before they ended up leaving and moving their headquarters to Irving, Texas, and we have still not met there during this COVID time. We've been doing everything virtually with the American Athletic Conference when it comes to the summer kickoff. So there's a hope that we'll have the opportunity to do that, and that may happen, or it may take a little bit longer. So Mike Aresco going to tell us everything that's going on with his thoughts on college football, as well as collegiate athletics, the collegiate athletic model, amateurism, and if it even exists anymore, and so much more. And then we'll get into the ingredients to success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's, as we typically do that on a Tuesday. So this week we moved some things around coming back from vacation, and I definitely appreciate the fact I was on vacation, but we had specials for you every single day. I was on vacation, but I was featuring Ren Baker of North Texas, the VP and Director of Athletics. I was featuring Sarah Hunter, like I said, from Baldwinsville Bees, who has now agreed to join the Lemoyne College Dolphins to continue playing lacrosse collegiately. I brought you the Paul Galvin Giving Back to the Community at Lemoyne College as well, and that came to you in a special Dolphin Dive. We also had my one-on-one conversation with Navy midshipman head football coach Ken Niumatalolo, as well as my one-on-one conversation with Tulsa Golden Hurricane head football coach Philip Montgomery. We had Carrie Brown on for an exclusive Pacer Pride on women's lacrosse. So many things happening, and the first ever Bobcat Buzz aired on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, featuring Alex Gregorita, the women's soccer head coach at Bryan and Stratton College in Syracuse, as well as the assistant athletic director, Nick Dmitrievsky, the men's soccer head coach at Bryan and Stratton Syracuse, and the athletic director, as well as featuring Clay Sherman, the head women's basketball coach at Bryan and Stratton Syracuse, the head men's coach, Dan Frisina, and the new baseball program has a head coach as well in Sean Peak. So they were all a part of the show, all a part of the broadcast. You can look back at all these videos by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. That's youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and click and subscribe. So I hope that you do that. A lot of great stuff coming up here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, like I said, with the incredible conversation coming up with Mike Aresco and the ingredients to success. I hope you all had a fantastic and very happy Valentine's Day. I do want to make mention of that. I didn't talk about it, and I definitely would like to, so I hope you all had a very happy Valentine's Day. I hope you stayed safe, and I hope you stayed well, and I hope Valentine's Day treated you right. So a very, very happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there, and a big thanks to each and every single one of you for showing love to Wake Up Call by following us and supporting us and liking us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. So thank you very much for all of your connections to me, and I appreciate all that you have done to be a part of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. I very much appreciate that. And I do want to get to, before we jump into the conversation with Mike Aresco, taking a look at what's been going on here in the NFL. And one of the things I want to look at is the Kyler Murray saga and the unfortunate situation with this. So Kyler Murray posted on Instagram on Valentine's Day this Monday. He put, quote, all of this nonsense is not what I'm about. And he vowed to, quote, grow and get better, end quote. He said, quote, I play this game for the love of it. My teammates, everyone who has helped me get to this position that believed in me and to win championships. All this nonsense is not what I'm about, has been, never will be. Anyone who has ever stepped between those lines with me knows how hard I go. Love me or hate me, but I'm going to continue to grow and get better, end quote. So, this comes after Kyler Murray had taken the Arizona Cardinals off of his Instagram account recently, and kind of looking at what happened there. Now, this is where we are right now, is that, things tend to flow off into social media, which means they flow off into the public. Kyler Murray had deleted everything on his Instagram except for 2 posts. One of him in an Oklahoma Sooners uniform from 2018, and another one included 9 pictures of him in the Pro Bowl this year. He's going into the final year this season, 2022-23, of his rookie contract, and the Arizona Cardinals have until May 2nd to pick up his 5th year option. He's also eligible to negotiate a new deal now that he has gone past his 3rd season. Now he's currently looking to earn a base salary of $965,000 in 2022, but combined with a $4.5 million roster bonus, it's fully guaranteed on the 5th day of the league year. So he'll take home about $5.4 million. Now, this is where we're at, and I can't imagine that the Arizona Cardinals would want to let this man go. I can't imagine that it would make any sense. I can't imagine that it would put them in any good place here. Remember, a couple seasons ago, before Kingsbury and Kyler Murray came to town, they brought in a head coach and a quarterback and didn't even give those guys 365 days. They fired the coach before a year was up, and they let him go a season, but they didn't let him go a full calendar year. They fired the head coach, they fired the quarterback they chose in the top 10, then hired a new head coach, and then found another top 10 quarterback. So, it's been an interesting road in Arizona, a team that was so dangerous, a team that had so much to offer and so much to bring to the playoffs, really sputtered out, and that's a great unfortunate for them, but to think that they would get rid of their franchise quarterback doesn't really make any sense to me whatsoever. So we'll see exactly what they decide to do, but again, it's social media. And, that's the reality here, is that some of us let things go off onto social media. And I have learned, and trust me, even in recent times, I have learned that, you don't air out your dirty laundry on social media, right? If someone is treating you poorly, you deal with that person directly, but you don't air it out on social media. And I think, it sounds goofy to say, oh, Kyler Murray might be leaving the Cardinals because of what he put on Instagram. It sounds stupid, but, people are purposeful in the actions that they take. And I think that whether or not people admit it, there's a reason for every action. And so whether it was a heat of the moment, had a bad discussion with the Cardinals, whether he was just pissed about them losing in the playoffs, whether, whatever it may be, he took that moment to react. And instead of reacting privately, instead of calling a friend, instead of calling a parent, and maybe he did that, but on top of that, he went to social media and he let us all know. Millions of people follow Kyler Murray. You take down the Arizona Cardinals stuff, they see it, we see it, I see it. And that is something that, whether it's this situation or any situation, when you let something unfold on social media, you're involving the entire world into your private life. And I think that that's a very dangerous place to go. I think it lets everybody know what's going on in your life, which also gives everybody the thought that they have the right to tell you what to do and how to do it. And I don't think that that's good. So, for the sake of Kyler Murray and the crew, I hope that things get figured out. I do want to make a note here. I got a message this morning that my guy Luke Fickell, who American Athletic Conference Commissioner Mike Aresco and I will talk about, my guy Luke Fickell got a pay raise. Now, he was making, I believe, a little over $3 million a year. And now he is in a position, after going to the college football playoff, that he has agreed to a new contract through 2028 that will pay him $5 million per year, pending Cincinnati's Board of Trustees approval. School is also expected to up the staff salary pool to $5.2 million, a bump of more than $1.4 million. So this is what it is here. Now, Fickell told ESPN, quote, "I appreciate the efforts of Athletic Director John Cunningham and President Neville G. Pinto, who realized in order for us to take the next step to grow the program and go to the Big 12, that we have to invest in people, not just the head coach," end quote. So this is where we're at here, back-to-back undefeated regular seasons for Luke Fickell, and the first ever trip to the college football playoff, representing the American Athletic Conference in the college football playoff for the first time ever. They faced off against Alabama in this year's college football playoff. Now, this will put Luke Fickell in good footing here with reputable coaches around the league, $5 million a year. Now, Cincinnati became the first team from outside, like I said, one of the quote-unquote Power Five to get in to this. Now, the impending extension for Luke Fickell will pay him $1.6 million more per year, somewhere around that, than he was making under his previous deal. And so that will be huge for him to have that. And looking at this now, among the schools expected to be in the Big 12, Fickell ranks number 1 in coach salary. Among current Big 12 schools, he's behind Oklahoma's Brent Venables, who will make $7 million after leaving Clemson, where he was at for a long time, and Texas's Steve Sarkisian, who makes $5.4 million. So in the new Big 12, he will be the third highest paid coach and the highest paid coach of the 4 incoming members of the Big 12. So congratulations to Luke Fickell, and much appreciation to the fact that Cincinnati has obviously seen what he has done, and they've taken care of him, and he's stayed loyal to them. This is what a good marriage looks like, right? Loyalty, trust, respect, appreciation, and holding true to the fact that you're not going to let somebody go because you appreciate them and you value them way too much. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we have an extensive video conversation with American Athletic Conference Commissioner Mike Aresco on all things college football and with collegiate athletics, following his open letter to college football.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be, from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on facebook.com/livenowdt, where you're watching and listening. And you're also listening worldwide on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt and on the homepage of wakeupcalldt.com. The gentleman that is here with me, joined on screen, picture in picture, is no stranger to the broadcast, the American Athletic Conference Commissioner, Mike Aresco, who is apparently surprised at the fact that I found this American Athletic. These were being sold at the Cincinnati Houston AAC championship game that Cincinnati won en route to the college football playoff. And so I tell Mike all the time, looking for something with the A on it. And I like to support the people that I respect and I know and have built relationships with professionally and personally. So I found this, and Mike, I guess I have to give you the receipt for it, right?
First of all, Dan, I'm glad somebody's buying our merchandise. That's certainly a very encouraging sign. Second, I didn't know we sold that particular shirt. That's great. But we could always send you some items. I think we should. I've been remiss in not doing that. You've been great to have me on the show over the years, and really enjoyed it. But we'll see what we can find out in there. In that old room. We moved here to Irving. I don't know where everything is now.
And how are the new digs? How are they treating you?
That's great. We've got a great new studio. And Morgan Uber does interviews for us and features. She's terrific. Matt Sizik is our producer. This office space is great. People like Dallas. They like being here. We're in Las Colinas. We're close. Actually, I kid Bob Bowlesby that when I moved here, and we're almost across the highway from the Big 12, I didn't expect them to take our teams just because I moved here, But in any event, he's here. The Southland Conference is nearby. Judy's Conference USA is nearby. The College Football Hall of Fame's right across. It's the epicenter of college sports. Dan, Cotton Bowl. There's so much here. It's great. We love it here.
Yeah, the salt of the earth right there in the great state of Texas. It's its own entity. You know what I mean? It's definitely has its own personality, and there's so much there, like you said. And yeah, I guess the Big 12, in close proximity, like you said, you joke that I guess you guys can trade back and forth, try to work something out there at times. Maybe you could find like a timeshare. Maybe you could do it like that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't know. One thing though, we are close to a lot of our schools, and and speaking of realignment, we'll be bringing in 3 more schools in Texas, and that's going to make things very convenient. And our basketball tournament, Dan, which starts in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I guess, is just down the road in Fort Worth, in the incredible Dickies Arena. You've got to see it. It's one of the nicest places you'll ever see. And now, when we expand, we're going to have so many schools within driving distance. That should be really good for attendance. And even now, with Wichita and Tulsa up the road, SMU's having a good year. They're right here. Houston fans can drive. It's a good location, and the office is a great location for everybody. We're centrally located for most of our schools. So it's worked out well. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And here on Wake Up Call, inside of the Cafe Football studios, myself, Dan Tortora, here with the American Athletic Conference Commissioner, Mike Aresco. Mike, you wrote an open letter, and it was an open letter to college football. There's a lot in it to unpack. And on the heels of this being released to us in the media, I would love to get your thoughts on the why and to kind of break this down. It starts off with saying, as NCAA Division I athletics embarks on transformational changes in the coming weeks and months, and as the college football playoff, aka CFP, leadership looks to the future, we have a unique opportunity to reshape college football with a modern postseason format that will profoundly enhance the national stature of the sport. Recognizing that the current 14 playoff excludes worthy teams, the CFP working group, and then you name the people within the working group here in this, submitted a proposal for a 12-team playoff in June 2021. That is an enormous step in the right direction and remedies the shortcomings that have historically and recently affected FBS postseason football. The proposal is fair, thoughtful, forward-focused, opportunity-embracing, and practical in its approach. In addition to numerous meetings of the CFP Management Committee, the group of 10 FBS commissioners and Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick since June of 2021, each conference in Notre Dame also vetted the working group's proposal with their constituencies, including their student athletes, over the summer of 2021. This has not been a rushed process. A fine majority, including some Power 5 commissioners, has consistently favored a 12-team playoff containing the 6-6 model, i.e. the top 6 conference champions and 6 at-large teams comprising the field. That is how you opened the open letter to college football. Your thoughts on what you said within all of that, and to catch us all up on the fact that the there was something put here before the college football postseason happened this past season in 2021-22. There was a conversation. Then Oklahoma and Texas decided to jet for the SEC. Then the conversation in the background continued through a process. And I think they told us there was, 4 steps. And then it just halted in the media. And so why this open letter? And you started it off with stating the fact that you felt that there has been a push for this and a vetted process of the 12-team playoff, and why you think that's a good model and why you're not the only one.
Dan, the process has slowed, and it's drifted a bit too, and publicly it's drifted, in terms of the commentary. I felt that it would be useful, and you never know if it's going to have an impact. You just don't know. But I thought it would be useful to gather the arguments in favor of the 12-team playoff and the 6-6 model, but also to summarize the issues and to identify them and clarify them and address them. And, I thought we've got some meetings coming up, in March, and who knows what's going to happen. And the ACC came out publicly, had a press conference citing some points of opposition. And I felt that had not been sufficiently addressed by the media or by us, by the committee. And I just felt that doing a letter like this might prove useful. It might have an impact. It would try to draw things together, at least let people know where we stood. And my conference is fully aligned on it. There wasn't much pushback to the ACC's comments. And again, I should say, I really, really like Jim Phillips and think he's terrific, and he really is. And I sit next to him in all the meetings, and he's thoughtful. He's a man of integrity. They happen to believe that their position is right. Our job is to try to persuade them that there's another way to go that would get this done. And that's what this letter tries to do in the public forum, hoping that, if opinion shifts or maybe if opinion stays where it is, which I think has been supportive of the playoff, that, maybe we can break the logjam. I don't know. I mean, I'm just one person, and my conference is one conference. We're all behind this. But I think it was a useful exercise, and we'll see what happens.
For you, looking at where we're at right now with college football and trying to get this put together, you said your conference is aligned. Does that include all of the 6 full members that are on their way in?
I believe it does. Excuse me, Dan. I believe it does. And we copied. We gave a heads up, by the way, to everyone connected to this, to the committee, to the board of managers, which are the presidents, Bill and Ari Fleischer. We gave everybody a heads up. It was important to do that. We didn't want the thing to leak, and so we didn't, do it, a long time in advance, but we did it. Now, in terms of our conference, the 3 who are leaving definitely got the letter and know where we stand. And by the way, the league they're going to, the commissioner of that league supports this plan, Bob Bowlesby. He was one of the authors of it. And the 6 coming in got copies, and I believe they firmly support this. And I think they would, because they're like us. They want access. They feel that greater access is important. But this is a case, Dan, along those lines, where our self-interest aligns with what I think is really good for college football. And, often you have to leave self-interest at the door. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. But in this case, we're in alignment. Our interests are, I think, the interests of college football. This playoff expansion, I think, will be very, very good for college football in so many ways. I really do.
And why do you believe? Now, I firmly agree that 4 is not enough. I think that it doesn't make any logical sense. I think the argument every single year is that, I believe that the 4 go as follows: Alabama, another SEC school, typically Clemson, and a wild card. And the Big Ten's been taking that spot, or Notre Dame. That leaves out the Big 12. It leaves out the Pac-12. So to me, the way that the 4-team model looks is if 50% of it is the SEC, and usually Clemson's a part of that in the ACC, then that leaves the Big 10, the Big 12, and the Pac-12 in the quote-unquote Power 5 to fight for one spot. That doesn't include Coastal Carolinas of the world. It doesn't include anything inside of the American Athletic Conference. And so, and it excludes really good teams in the SEC. It excludes other teams around the country that are stepping up. So when we jump from 4 to 12, why are you not saying 8? Why are you not saying 10? Why do you think 12 is the right model?
That's a good question. And incidentally, we definitely have been excluding too many worthy teams. We're thrilled, that Cincinnati got in, and they deserve to be in. What it took to have that happen, right? So it's just not all that likely most years when we've had very deserving teams. And to leave 3 conferences out, major conferences, has happened this year, it's just not healthy for college football. Why 12? 8 would have probably been the number everyone was probably was the number everyone was expecting. Go from 4 to 8, incremental increase in number of teams. The problem with that, and this is where I think the committee did a really good, thorough job, and I think their work has not necessarily been appreciated. Yeah. They looked at this and said, we have emphasized, we say we want to emphasize conference champions, right? Well, in that case, we need to have, a series of conference champions make the playoff. And they felt that the fair model would be to have the top 6, which would obviously include one of the so-called G5. So you're not always leaving out our conferences. And it would be the top 6 based on merit. So it didn't have to necessarily be a so-called G5. Or excuse me, there would be one G5. But the point is, it didn't necessarily have to be anybody in particular, right? You had to earn it. Yeah. And they said, we need a series of at-larges because, you're leaving out worthy teams now, and you're going to leave out more if you don't have, more than, for example, 1 or 2 at-larges. And if you only have 2 at-larges, you have an 18 playoff. If Notre Dame's one of them, Dan, then that's 1 slot for, all the other conferences. And so the feeling was that it needed to be a little bigger and that you could manage it with 12. You give buys to the top 4. Yes, there is that potential for that 4th game, and that's been a sticking point. And it's probably not likely because you'd have to be a team that did not get a bye and got all the way to the championship game. And I believe if that happened, that team would be thrilled to play in it. And, they would probably adjust practices as they go along, as they advance. So there are a lot of reasons to think that you could solve the health and safety issue, but it is real. And that's where I say the ACC had a legitimate concern there. But I think 12 is the right number. It evens out the automatics and the at-larges, which many tournaments do. The NCAA tournament was very similar to that. Other tournaments are similar to that. You have a combination of automatics that you have to earn, though, that you have to earn. So I think the plan ended up being, I think, a very good plan. And I think Jack made the point when he did a presentation that, and I think he's been maligned unfairly about, the fact that I think somebody, whether it was a coach or an AD, he said Jack swindled them when he made his presentation. I don't know where that came from. That's ridiculous. Jack's someone of integrity. He would never do that. I think he's been thoughtful. And the whole group is. And by the way, they went against self-interest to some extent. You could argue that Bob and Greg Sankey could have easily said we need automatics for the 5, right? But they didn't. They decided that it should be a fair system. And look, the selection committee can take care of strength of schedule and things of that nature if you feel that the 5 should get some preference because they played a tougher schedule. That's sort of built into the system, isn't it? I think it is. So, to close off this part of the discussion, 12 would have probably seemed a bridge too far, a year ago, 2 years ago. Nobody was thinking in those terms. But the more I heard, rumblings and the more I talked to people, I thought 12 was definitely a possibility because I think it does solve a lot of the issues that you would have. I think 8 just lacks traction. It lacks support. The feeling is if you have the 6 automatics, which you really need, that 2 at large is just not enough. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and we're looking at different models, the 5+1, different things that you brought up here, the 2 at large. And then in that case, if one of them is Notre Dame, then it really only leaves 1 spot here. What do you think about the fact, and you brought up the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, that I spent a lot of time covering over the last decade and continue to, obviously. The ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 formed a 3-conference alliance after everything came up with Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC. The ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big Ten got together and said, we are going to have this alliance. So there's autonomy So, and I want to explain this to people that don't know this or maybe use them interchangeably. Power Five is a media term. It's never something that I created, and it's not something that I am for, because I think that it unfairly kind of turns everything in one direction and leaves the other five conferences out when it comes to Division I football. So there's Power Five, which is a media term, and then there's the Autonomy Group of Five, which is a legislative term, which states that the Pac-12, the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, and the ACC have a separate form of rules inside of the NCAA, and that by definition, autonomy, aka self-governing, they can make decisions. And as I spoke with former ACC commissioner about John Swafford, because they have this autonomy, there is the notion these five conferences could decide at some point to leave the NCAA because they're functioning as their own government inside of a government. And so now, as we look at this, Mike, there's the autonomy group of five, but an alliance group of three. So there's the NCAA with the 10 Division I football schools. Then there's an autonomy group of five. Then there's an alliance group of three. What is this doing to collegiate athletics? What is it doing to sports? And how do you understand here's 10, but then there's this group of five, and then there's this quote unquote autonomy. Well, there's the autonomy five, aka Power Five. But now within the group of autonomy, there's an alliance of three. So there's like, it's kind of like, do you ever watch Big Brother? There's like a giant alliance of like 8 people, and then there's 6, and then there's like your final 2. It's putting me in a place that's making me ask the question, if there's a group of 5 within 10 and then 3 within that, what is that doing to collegiate athletics? And is it saying the Pac-12, the Big 10, and the ACC, it's the 3 of them against the world? I mean, trying to understand that as a fan gets very confusing.
It is. I think it speaks to fragmentation, without question, fragmented system. And there's been fragmentation from the beginning of this autonomy, legislative push. You have the so-called G5, you have Division I schools that don't play football. You have FCS football, which is, the division, alongside FBS, but has fewer scholarships, plays at a different level. And so you've had this kind of, diversity, if you will. And here's the issue right now, Dan. I don't think those 5 are going to leave anything. I mean, I just think they don't feel that it makes sense for them to do that. It makes sense for college sports. I think there are all sorts of problems with doing it that they recognize, especially in view of a lot of the decisions that have come down recently. But on the other hand, we have to be careful, because a playoff, Dan, is not a bowl game. Bowl tie-ins are one thing. And you get a bowl tie-in because of your brand, because of the ability to get sponsorship, attendance, TV ratings. A playoff has to have a legitimacy and a credibility, which I talk about in my letter. It just has to have that. I think I use the example, you don't give the American League East, because the Yankees and the Red Sox are the most famous brands, spend the most money, have the best history. You don't give them a privileged position, and don't give the American League West one. So you really have to be careful into how you navigate this. Now, what I'd like to see is G5 disappear, this group of 5, because it's a caste system. It makes it look like we play in a different division. We play at a different level. When Cincinnati gets in, it's as though they've come up from some lower level. That's nonsense. We want all FBS. Now, that doesn't mean all FBS conferences, just like an animal farm, are created equal. They're not. We get it. And we understand that strength of schedule figures in. But if you're an FBS conference and you don't have that branding, that harmful branding, you can make more progress. And if you've got it, and it affects recruiting, it affects retention, it affects everything. So it's better if it goes away. And this playoff is a step in the right direction in that regard, because it's the 6 champions plus the 6 at-larges with no fear, no favor, you have to earn it. You can't have privilege before you even, have a down. Now, to address the notion of the fractured governance, like it's fractured, I don't know if that's the word, but it's, there's no czar of football, right? There's no, and the NCAA right now is sort of semi-paralyzed because of so many of the court decisions and some of the things that have happened. You got NIL is kind of spiraling out of control. We don't know what's going on with that. Some would argue, well, it's okay, not a problem. I think it potentially is a problem. You have the transfer portal. There's no regulation right now. It's too open-ended. It's worse than free agency, and it's causing roster issues. It's causing issues with how teams operate. That's another issue. You have the Alston decision, and it's causing us to maybe farm out some of the things we should be doing ourselves. And we're afraid to put in, useful and important regulations that are thought through, that are well thought out, because we're afraid of lawsuits. And then finally, you've got a situation right now where you really you don't know where we're going, and on top of this, you're trying to do a playoff in that environment. I understand the ACC saying there's a volatile environment out there. There is, but I don't think that has much to do with the playoff. I think the playoff is about opportunity and access, and this NIL business, the transfer portal, those issues are going to be with us for a long time, and how we resolve them, who knows, right? And probably not to everyone's satisfaction. In 15 months, Dan, this is something I think I pointed out in my letter. In 15 months, we're back at the table anyway to see whether we can extend this playoff, even if it doesn't start in 24-25, which has been the goal. And by the way, the goal hasn't been to do a playoff in 24-25 and then start all over again in 2026. Not at all. It's been get something in place for the future, whether it's 3 years, 6 years, 9 years, 12 years. See if you can move it up and start it early with the same format. That's been the plan. So we'll see. But you're right. There's a lot of power centers right now, Dan. That's the other thing you alluded to. You've got the P5. You've got this alliance, which, is still not fully understood. I don't know if they fully understand what it's going to represent. Supposedly it's going to have a scheduling component. Well, I don't know. You could have done that anyway, I guess. It clearly was a reaction, or it seems like it was a reaction to the SEC taking Oklahoma and Texas. And by the way, that may well have derailed, the playoff for a period of time and made it harder to get it back on track. And I think that's unfortunate, because I think what Greg Sankey and the committee did, the working group did, was excellent. And I think they put forth a good plan. And if it's a good plan, I don't think you should let, realignment, get in the way. And realignment's going to happen. It may happen again down the road. In the end, we all have to compete. The playoff is concentrated power in a few schools. It's concentrated recruiting in a few schools. It was an unintended consequence, because when you only have 4 teams, you're going to leave people out, right? Year after year after year. And that's been a problem that we probably didn't fully anticipate. The BCS, the top 2 teams played, it didn't seem to have a reflection on anybody, right? But this does. And so consequently, we're trying to remedy it by going to 12. Also, our group of schools has been left out pretty much every year. And we've had some really worthy teams. Those UCF teams were very competitive, just like Cincinnati last year. This year, you had Houston back in the day. So we've had trouble, gaining access. But right now, you have to get everybody together, and there has to be consensus. And right now, to get something done in 24-25, you need unanimity. Unanimity is pretty tough in this business, Dan.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it feels like we start our engines and we sputter out, and start our engines and sputter out. The conversation of, yeah, well, it's up in 2026 and it's not going to change until then. And then I said, you got to understand about contracts when it comes to collegiate anything, is that those contracts sometimes, doesn't matter how many people sign them, doesn't matter what sign. This. You see a coach signs an extension, 3 months later, he's across the country at another school. Now with the transfer portal, a kid doesn't have to stay committed. Their signature doesn't mean anything. So we live in a world where even a signed document is getting thrown out the window. So I said, hey, listen, if somebody wants to change it and enough of the powers that be that people listen to want to change it, it'll change. I think what people need to understand is we're in 2022. 2026 is when this thing is over. So what is going to be the plan for the future, and what are we trying to do? And they bring up, health and safety concerns. I've heard the health and safety concerns. I've heard the concerns of, and what that means, extra couple weeks of football. What does that do for, schooling and this and that? And I'm looking at this saying to myself, okay, when I was a student and I was on Christmas break, that break was from the middle of December to the middle of January. If you do this, and instead of taking a month off and this and that, if you play this all the way through and you have 12 teams, you could still be done around the same time, if not a few days after. You're not adding anything crazy. These kids already know they're not going home for the holidays. They already know that they're going to be on campus. They already anticipate doing that. And with all due respect, if the schools are going to make more money, get more exposure, the fans are going to have something to watch and somewhere to go, I don't think that people, as much as people say, well, what about the kids going to class? What about them being able to do their schoolwork? Listen, it's hard enough for them during the season to do everything that they need to do. Then you add in COVID, then you add in all of these, different pieces to it. They're already going to study halls. They're already having to do things online. They're already having to postpone it and do it when they get back. I don't see how a school loses by having their team in the playoff and an expanded playoff with an extra game or two. I don't see how they lose anything. And when they talk about the health and safety of the players, we've seen money go well above that. We've seen conferences say, we're not going to play during COVID. And then they watched other conferences play, and then they said, okay, now we're going to play. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the school gets exposure, the fans get involved, you're selling merchandise, you're selling tickets, and yes, health and safety is a major concern. But Mike, you know this as much as I do, is when it comes to money and when it comes to other things we've seen here in the world of sports, health and safety gets put down the totem pole. And I know that it's come up during the pandemic, and I know it matters to you, and I know there's other people it matters to, but it's hard for me to believe that asking a kid to play an extra week or two is going to blow up the whole system and cause such a controversy, because there's a way to schedule it in such a means where you're done around the same amount of time, and it's still while people are going to be on break.
Yeah, no question. I think, first of all, because of the way December works out, I think you can play these games and still make sure that exams aren't affected. And we've looked at that. We've looked at the calendar. Also, you can create more space between games and maybe go a little later into January. And you look at the NCAA tournament, and what the demands on the kids in that tournament. So I think, look, this is high level football, and it's rugged, and so I don't take these issues lightly. And you're right. I take health and safety very seriously, but so do my colleagues. I think health and safety has been a huge part of this. And Don Ohlmeyer, who I think the late Don Ohlmeyer was a well-known producer at NBC and ABC, kind of a legendary figure in TV circles. And he did an interview once after a game, and had the media assembled and said, by the way, I'm not sure we necessarily, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not sure we necessarily need to have this meeting, because every question you ask me, the answer is going to be money. So there's no reason to ask me the questions. And that's not been the case with this playoff. We haven't talked about money virtually at all. There is some concern about how the revenue is going to be distributed, but it's all been about access, opportunity for student athletes, getting the right mix in the playoff, and money has been on the back burner. And sure, it's going to be worth a lot more. Everybody knows that, but that's not the purpose. In fact, you may see it not happen, and we may leave a lot of money on the table because of concerns for health and safety and other things. Now, I think they can be addressed and we can move ahead, but others who hold honest opinions may not think so. We're going to see in the next month or so. Also, if you look at this, we are trying again to create opportunity, and nothing's perfect. Anytime you increase, the number of games, the NFL has done this now, right? They go to 17 and you have to play potentially 20 or 21 games to win your championship. You're creating, some issues, no question. But this seems to be the only way. There's a lot, think about it. When you're depriving a lot of worthy teams and student athletes of the chance to play in a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and ask Cincinnati, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's a pretty big impact on, potentially mental well-being, mental health, right? We don't think about those things. Giving them that opportunity to do this, and then trying to put in safeguards. If we started this playoff and found that it just wasn't working, that the strain was too great, we could reverse course and say we're not doing it anymore. Now we would have some issues with TV and all that we'd have to work through. But I think that in the end, it's the kind of thing that needs to be, it needs to be, we vetted it, and I think now, I think it needs to happen. I think that the feeling is that somehow, and this is a point of concern, that somehow it will happen down the road. Now, if it's going to happen, that means probably you think you can deal with the health and safety issues. Yeah. And if you can, then why not do it sooner to give people that opportunity sooner? That's been my point. Now, Dan, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a prognosticator. I'm not a prophet. I don't know what's going to happen, but time's running out for at least 24, 25. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're in a place right now where college football, like you said, I mean, but like you said, you're not a prognosticator, you're not a prophet, you don't have a crystal ball. Yet anybody with, in my opinion, the brain of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is the size of a peanut, could see that the name, image, and likeness and transfer portal situations did not have any restrictions, and that this could run amok, and it could put us in a very dicey situation. It's not that it's not beneficial, obviously, for the student athlete to utilize their name, image, and likeness, and for the NCAA, $1 billion industry, to not look at these student athletes and say, hey, they deserve to have something from this. And at the same time, the transfer portal allowing you to move around with the flow and the ease that head coaches do all the time. So there is a positive, but as I said in the beginning with NIL and with the transfer portal, there's more questions than answers. And then 3 months went by and there was more questions and answers. And then 6 months went by and then 9 months went by. And then I sat here and said to myself, I'm only getting more questions, but I'm never getting any answers. So, as we go forward with all this at collegiate athletics, Mike, you've had the opportunity to be a commissioner in this, one of the few in Division I to call yourself a commissioner, and you've seen all this happen. You brought up the NCAA versus Alston and what that means for amateurism in the future of, collegiate athletics in general. There has been an attack on amateurism. There's been an attack on what, collegiate athletics has meant to us. And somehow something was let through without any centralized governance. There were no rules set in place. There was New York could do what they want. Pennsylvania could do what they want. California, Texas. When you have the NIL all over the place different, when you have conferences, and like you said, there's no czar of college football, the NCAA president, Mark Emmert, came out and said, I have no control over college football. And when he said that in 2020, I sat here and said, then if you're the president of the NCAA, and this is NCAA football, you just said you're the president of nothing, and there's no centralized governance, and there's nobody to go to for answers, and you can't stop a conference from playing, and you can't stop a team if the conference doesn't play, and realignment can happen whenever it wants to if a school is willing to pay. NIL has no rules, transfer portal has no rules, and kids that had opportunities in college are now jumping in the transfer portal. Then the musical chairs, the music stops, they don't have it, and now these kids that had an opportunity to play college football or collegiate athletics, now they don't have an opportunity. Now they're back to square one, and they might be 19 years old as a college dropout. There are a million things going on with collegiate athletics. How did we let this happen if people like you and I saw that there was a ton of questions, but literally nothing on the answer line?
Yeah, that's a $64 question. I think to some extent, Dan, you do have a wide variety of opinions in the organization, and you don't have there isn't someone who can just call the shots. Mark Emmert can't just dictate what's going to happen. But more than that, I think we may have dropped the ball when California passed the NIL law, and we just decided to let it go. And ultimately, it metastasized into every state doing it. Now you may say, well, that's a word that suggests it's a negative thing. Well, I thought that having that many rules, it wasn't proper for a national organization. A national organization needs uniformity, needs consistency. So now we've got a real kind of mess on our hands, and the exact thing that we warned about, that NIL would not really become, student athletes, making a few dollars from their name, image, and likeness. It would really become a recruiting and retention tool. And that's exactly what seems to be happening. Yeah. And also some of these deals that just, these are unknown players who just wouldn't get these deals, otherwise. And so consequently, you weren't really depriving someone of something. Every now and then you would have somebody who would get a true endorsement deal. Maybe there was a way to handle that, and we missed the boat. Now we're in the mix, and we really have to figure out what we're going to do. And I don't think we can rely on Congress to help us. And I think we have to ultimately bite the bullet and say we have principles. And if we honestly believe in those principles, let's put them forward. Let's put guidelines in place, guardrails, if you will, things to regulate what we're doing, and take our chances. If there's an antitrust issue, there's an antitrust issue. I think we can work around that, because if you take a principled position and you have a reason for doing something, and it's a reason that could withstand, court scrutiny, you're not going to have a problem. So I think that's one of the issues. I think the other issue, and you alluded to, several things that clearly are going on. How did we get here? Well, we got here because we want to give student athletes more rights, right? But on the other hand, at what point does that compromise, team, the concept of team, the concept of amateurism, which is almost a word that's not even used anymore. But the truth is, this is becoming professionalized, and I'm not sure that's necessarily going to be good long term. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everybody will just watch the games and be happy. You'll have collective bargaining agreements among student athletes, and it wouldn't even be student athletes anymore. I guess they would still have to be students, but they'd be professionals in many respects. They'd be essentially employees of their schools. Think about all the issues that's going to create. Paying taxes. Being able to be cut, willy-nilly because you're just an employee. There are a lot of things that people haven't really thought about. But that seems to be the direction we're moving. I think it's unfortunate, too, because I think we've done a lot for student athletes over the years. I think that, the money tends to get plowed back into the programs. And look, Nick Saban may have a hefty salary, but he wouldn't be coaching in college if he didn't. And that means that a generation of Alabama players has been able to get the benefit of his great coaching and his, great approach to things. So think about that. That's the marketplace. And so I was maybe a stick in the mud. Some people could call me a Neanderthal. You can call me anything you want. Point is, I felt that we had a system that it needed some tweaks, but it didn't have to be the Wild West. It didn't have to be a complete free for all. It didn't have to be professionalization of college sports. It will be interesting to see how schools react, Dan, if it gets worse and it just becomes clearly a pay-for-play proposition. That's what I don't know. But how did we get there? We didn't have, I'm not necessarily blaming leadership in the sense that it's tough. There hasn't been a consistent approach. I don't think we fully analyze who we are and took a principled position on who we think we are. And I think that's the issue. I think we've gotten into some gray areas that are now, snowballing. Okay. I think that's really probably what happened. And to some extent, you can point to leadership and say maybe we should have been firmer in certain areas and taken our chances. But, we were firm on Alston, and unfortunately, that wasn't the hill to die on, and it looked like, that's come back to haunt us in many respects. Because to be honest, I testified in that trial in Oakland when it was at the trial level. And we came out of that with some reasonable restrictions. I mean, I didn't necessarily agree with them. I didn't think courts should be imposing, their will on the NCAA. I think the NCAA is a group of people that care about student athletes and are trying to do the right thing. But I could live with it. I could live with what they did. And we decided to appeal it. I guess we thought we had a chance to win. And now it's caused all sorts of problems for us. And we're just going to have to work through it. Edward R. Murrow, it's a statement, that I've always thought was great. He once said, history, doesn't accept excuses. History just, and I don't know, his exact statement was something similar, but history is such that it does not accept excuses, and that's what we're going to have to deal with, some tough problems. And if we want to continue this enterprise and continue student athlete participation, continue all the great things about it, it's part of, Dan, you love it, I love it, we all love it. It's part of our fabric, which is why I think, however we, unfortunately, sometimes we tend to mess it up a little bit, but it'll survive. But if we're going to, still have it, in a way we think, we're going to have to get through this. And it reminds me of another, a famous novelist once said, he had change was happening. And one of the protagonists in the novel said, if we want things to stay the same around here, we're going to have to make some changes.
Yeah.
Great statement, and if you really want to keep college sports, in a form that people can recognize, I mean, we love it for what it is, right? Robert Frost once said, we love the things we love for what they are. And it's been a great thing. And if we lose it, it's our own fault. And I think we've got some tough work to do, but we can't be afraid to do it. Again, I think that the statement that Murrow said, now it's come back to me, it was difficulty is an excuse that history has never accepted. We've got a difficult path on our hands. We just have to, do the best we can.
I learned as a kid something that continues to come up, and to one of the biggest movies in the history of mankind that just came out, Spider-Man No Way Home, and what Uncle Ben and Aunt May both say to Peter Parker, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. So a couple final points here, Mike. I want to hit the end of your letter, and then I want to talk about the conference specifically. The end of your letter, the last things you said, I want to read them here. Power 5/Group of 5 branding must end. It is arbitrary and harmful to the sport and to the perception of fairness. It diminishes the accomplishments of potential playoff teams. A playoff model that accommodates select conferences based on brand name before a game is played would be profoundly damaging to college football and to college athletics generally. It would be a significant regression from the collective progress that has been made. It would be an enormous step in the wrong direction. It would potentially disenfranchise millions of student athletes, alumni, donors, sponsors, and fans. Underlined, it would lessen credibility from the start and would be even less desirable in principle than the current 4-team format. And that's the end of the underline. We are on the clock, and our window is narrowing for an agreement on a plan that could be implemented in 2024 and 2025. And although frustration has intensified, there is still hope. Fortunately, thanks to the efforts of the working group, significant and skillful work has been done. As hard as its task clearly was, the working group has delivered an excellent proposal that creates a better playoff, a playoff with a solid foundation, animated by a spirit of fairness, integrity, and equal access, and which enhances the overall health of college football. We strongly support the proposal as originally set forth by the working group, which we hope to see implemented as soon as practicality permits. That is how you ended your open letter, which is very, very deep and just a lot of information, well thought out letter that you have here. Those were your final two paragraphs, and you underlined, the only thing you underlined in your entire open letter to college football was the statement, it would lessen credibility from the start and would be even less desirable in principle than the current 4-team format when speaking about Power 5, Group of 5 branding when it connects to the college football playoff. And I'd love to know why these were your last 2 points, because when you're ending a letter, you're trying to take everything you said, put it all there nice and succinct, and then you're trying to hit with that one last punch that to you has to be packed with some really good information, some factual evidence, and an emotion that someone reading it can feel. And I know that you're a man who cares about your words, so I wanted to ask you.
Oh, no question, I do. And well, part of it was the last thing I addressed was the 5+1. So the next to last paragraph that you read was tying the 5+1 into the whole Group of 5 business, which I do think has been very harmful, right? But also pointing out why 5+1, kind of putting the, I guess it would be the crowning statement on why 5+1 is not the way to go. Now, I underlined that sentence because, or 2 sentences, whatever it is, because the truth is the format now is at-larges, 4 at-larges, right? Mm-hmm. There's no favoritism there. Cincinnati made it, right? Despite the G5 labels and all the nonsense we've had to put up with, right? It's probably hindered us in the past, as I've said, but they made it. But this plan would take away that. It would give privilege right off the bat to somebody who may not earn it, right? And that's, that's just, you lose credibility and you lose legitimacy when you do that, right? And so that's why I said you lose credibility when you do that at the very beginning, when you put it into place, because everybody knows that no other playoff has ever been set up that way. And why would it be? Because, a playoff is supposed to be fair, equal, And so consequently, you also then have a format that would be less desirable, in my view, than a 14 playoff, which at least doesn't reward privilege. Once you do that, Dan, I think you're on dangerous ground, because you're basically saying that the Yankees, Red Sox, for example, deserve, their division deserves a spot, but other divisions don't because of who they. that's just not the way you can go, period. And so that was part of it. Now, the last sentence, or excuse me, the last paragraph, I wanted to, again, point out that we're on the clock. Obviously, frustration's real. You have to acknowledge that. But also that there is still hope. I don't know, how great that hope is. But we keep meeting, right? So therefore, there's hope. And finally, again, kudos again, as I did in the opening paragraphs, it kind of ties it all together, to the working group. I think they did an outstanding job. I think give them credit. We've got a lot of criticism, and I don't think it's warranted. I think they've done an outstanding job. Now, whether you like this format, and I think most people do, based on the response I've gotten to this letter, it's been phenomenal, and it's all been positive. People like the format. They like the way it was set up. But if you don't, you can still acknowledge that the working group was thoughtful.
Yeah.
Did 2 years of hard work, came up with a plan they felt was fair, that looked to be, on the road to approval, and then some things happened, as we know. And you notice I didn't include the whole Texas-Oklahoma thing in my letter. I didn't think it was appropriate or useful to be in that letter. But you and I know that definitely derailed things for a short period of time, and maybe longer than that. And we've got to kind of get it back. So anyway, that's really the I guess what you asked was what was behind that. That was really the thought in closing it that way. You hope that a letter like this would have some impact because you really believe in it. You believe in what you're saying strongly. And I would never write anything I didn't believe in. But the point is, you have a strong feeling about this, but you also want it to be thoughtful. And if somebody has an issue with it, pick it apart. Fine. I mean, I think that's the whole point of this. Let's have an honest debate. Hope we can get it done. I don't know if we can.
And my last point, this is for the American Athletics specifically, and this is to run the gamut. I want to know your thoughts on this. You're going to be bringing in 6 schools, and now we're going to have 14 for the first time ever in the American Athletic Conference, and very excited about what this is going to mean for the conference. So I got to ask you this, and we could just go down the line. Are divisions coming back for college football in the American Athletic? Will we see divisions? Number one, and then kind of. Well, I guess we'll start there. Will we see divisions? When can we anticipate the teams that are going out and coming in? Have you gotten any closer to knowing when the new members are coming in, the old members are going out? Will divisions come back into the fray of this? And just what you could say, I guess, to that effect. And then I had one point to that, but would love to know your thoughts on going out, coming in, as well as will we see divisions for college football in the American Athletic?
Well, as far as divisions go, I have my doubts that we'll go back to divisions, or that anyone will, or that, in fact, that people who have divisions now will continue with them. I think they may dismantle them. The idea, especially if the playoff expands, Dan, is to put your 2 best teams in the championship game. It gives you the best opportunity to have a team that's in the top 6. And that's not necessarily the case when you have divisions. You never know. Somebody could win a division that's not strong that year with 4 losses, and then if they win the championship game, you're out of luck. And because the emphasis in the expanded playoff, if it does happen, Dan, is going to be conference championships, right? That's one sure way to get in if you can be in the top 6. And as you know, 7 out of 9 years we'd have been there. If you go back to 2013 when it was still the BCS, we still had the best team of our group. And so consequently, I'm not sure we're going to go back to divisions. We'll see. That's something we're going to have to sit down and talk to the ADs about. In fact, we've begun that conversation. And then second, in terms of when the 3 that are exiting will leave, we're negotiating and talking to them now about 23. But if we can't reach agreement, then they would stay through July 1, 2024. And, we're fine with that. We actually would welcome them to stay through 24 as our bylaws stipulate. Our bylaws are clear. But we always are willing, if someone wants to leave earlier, and I think there's these 3 to explore leaving early, we're always willing to negotiate, but we have to have what we want. We feel we have a fair plan about what it would cost to leave early. We've had these kinds of discussions in the past with other schools, and I'll leave it at that. I mean, at this point, we're having those discussions. I'm not sure when those schools will leave. The one thing I can tell you is we're unlikely to bring the 6 in until the 3 leave. That's pretty, we don't really necessarily want to play with 17. I mean, I guess we could, but the point is, it'll depend. And that's why we'd like to, as I said recently to a reporter, we'd like to get this done sooner than later because there are notice periods and all sorts of things hanging in the balance. This is college sports. While there's fragmentation, there's a lot of intricate relationships too.
Yeah.
Conferences. And so when one conference has an impact, there's impact to other conferences. And right now, as you know, there are probably 6 conferences that have realignment in play one way or another that have to get through this. So anyway, that's the best I can answer in terms of that question, Dan.
And I want to make a final note. And that final note is my respect for Mike Aresco and the work that the team has done. Chuck and Bernadette and the entire team at the American Athletic Conference for their tireless efforts. I met Mike before this conference had a logo, before this conference had a name. And Mike and I talked about what it's like to be a redheaded stepchild. And I know what it's like because I've been that. I started my business, started my company around the time that this conference started itself. So it is with great respect and appreciation that I proudly wear this. I am impartial in my job, but I show love where love is due and respect where respect is due. And Mike, for you, for Luke Fickell, for Cincinnati, for everything that happened here in the college football playoff, I am elated by the fact that I finally, for the first time ever, think the college football playoff got it right with all of the teams, including Cincinnati. And for those of you wondering about the Sports Illustrated article and Nick Saban and what he said and why he said what he said and whatnot, that question came from me. Because after that game, I asked Nick Saban, the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, about Cincinnati and about Luke Fickell. And he said, without doubt, that this team belongs here in the college football playoff. And when that comes from Nick Saban, that holds a lot of weight. Mike's been saying it. I've been saying it. And now, arguably, the greatest coach in the history of college football has said it, and one of the greatest coaches of all time. So if you're wondering why an impartial broadcaster has the American Athletic here, it's out of respect and appreciation for really good people working very diligently, not always treated fairly, not always treated right. But when good things happen to good people, you got to show out for them. So, Mike, I proudly wear this. But as you said at the beginning of the show, I will also proudly take whatever you send my way.
Well, I think we have to do that. And again, we're not trying to buy your loyalty either, But in fairness, you were one of the first to say this conference has a chance. This conference has some quality teams, and obviously those were tough days, and it's hard to believe, really, where we are now based on where we were, and we're going to have to rebuild a bit. We've been dealt a blow with realignment, but we'll come back. We've got 6 great new schools coming in. We now have a DNA. We have a way of doing things, and I think that's going to help. But I appreciate your support because you and a few others, and there weren't that many back then, thought we had a chance. And think about it. We did not have a name because we had to give up the Big East name in order to keep the revenue we needed to keep the conference going. And I didn't really want to give up the name, but we came up with a great name. We didn't have a logo. We came up with a great logo. You've got it on now. We didn't have a site for our basketball championship. We had to give up the Garden because it just didn't make sense to be in the Garden anymore. There were a whole host of things we had to do, and we did it. And it's credit to our schools, credit to our staff, tremendous staff. And ultimately, I would close, Dan, by again saying that you and a few others, felt that we had a chance, and it wasn't based on simply, dreaming. You look at the situation and say, there's some schools here that will invest, that will, be competitive. We had to provide leadership in the conference, and I think what we've done is we've promoted the P6 campaign, but it's not just PR. We basically set up our schedules. We played on Thursday, Friday. We did what we had to do to get attention for ourselves. We did some good deals, with ESPN, and they've been great partners, and that was really important. We've developed relationships. We've done a lot of things, and that's what I said to Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. I said, you 3 did great things for this conference and for yourselves. But this conference did great things for you also. It gave you a platform that if you were back where you were originally, you wouldn't have had. And not only you wouldn't have had it, you wouldn't have been able to build what you built. And, I'll close by saying I was treated so graciously in Cincinnati by the fans there, Many of them just came up to me and said, thanks for what, you did for the conference and for Cincinnati and what the conference has done for Cincinnati. And that was very gratifying to see and hear that. And the people of Cincinnati, the staff there, couldn't have been, more gracious, whether it's Neville Pinto and John Cunningham, the AD, Neville's the president. And that's the way it has to be. You try, there can be some tough negotiations as someone exits, but you try to do it in an amicable way because they were great members of the conference for a long time. They're trying to seek what they think are greener pastures. Whether they are or not is going to be, to be determined. But we were thrilled to build this conference and provide a home. As you know, it's an unusual conference. In many respects, it was a conference of opportunity. And people like you really, really did see that. And you that was your conviction. You didn't just, say that because we wanted to hear it. I don't think that was ever the case. And so, I commend you. And again, I don't want to, appear to be just, buttering you up because you're having me on your show. You really did that. And I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much that you had some faith in the conference, but also that you paid attention to us. A lot of people didn't even bother to pay attention to us. And we were doing some pretty great things early on, right away. We won the Fiesta Bowl and the national championship in basketball the very first year. How many conferences did that? And we had, 7 of 9 times we would be, we would have been on, in the playoff, and then we were on New Year's Day. Think about that. So this conference right away, earned something and had to struggle through all the P5, the G5 and all that nonsense, which unfortunately has held us back a bit. But, you and others, believed in us. Now a lot of the writers have been great and a lot of the online commentators have been great. But, in the early days, didn't have a lot of support, and then I can understand people gave us up for dead. You just lost the Big East teams. You've lost Louisville and Rutgers. You don't have necessarily a lot of brands in the conference. But I felt we had the nucleus of some really good football and basketball and also Olympic sports. We've won some championships there. So anyway, Dan, thanks again for having me. I always enjoy it. And thanks again for your support and also for, providing a forum to ask some really good questions and to get some answers that I hope at least, inform and enlighten your viewers. So thanks again, Dan, and wear that shirt with pride.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing. I mean, this to me, wearing this and having this conversation, it's a definition. I mean, it's the American athletics is a definition of America. It's being born out of circumstance, born out of adversity, born out of something that didn't seem necessarily fair, right? We had to be forged in the fire, and the American Athletic Conference to be celebrating the amount of time that you've been out there and what you've done and how you've consistently had to reinvent yourself and found ways to run through that, to create an identity as you continue to grow, blossom, lose, and gain. You've kept your identity, you've kept consistency in an inconsistent world. So when you're supporting people that you care about, when you're supporting people that personally and professionally you respect and people that you built relationships with, it is an honor for me to do this because I came to Cincinnati to see history be made. I came to Cincinnati to see a coach I've covered since the day he got there. I came to Cincinnati to see you finally get to tell the committee, hey, this is what we're hoping will happen, and then to see that happen. So it is with great pride, honest appreciation, and gratitude that the American Athletic Conference got put out there on the biggest stage and that Nick Saban himself said, hey, they deserve to be here. So thank you, Mike, for all your work. Thank you to your entire staff. And thank you for believing, because if you didn't, there may not even be a conference to talk about today. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Dan. And again, really appreciate you. And thanks for having me. It's great to be with you today.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecabal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Jamie from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Here at Progressive Dental, we understand the importance of regular dental visits and preventive care. Cleanings and checkups are essential to good oral health. We have multiple locations in the Southern Tier, so come visit us in Binghamton, Enwell, Kirkwood, Montrose, and Norwich. For self-pay non-insured patients, we offer the Smile Plan, which covers all of your cleanings, x-rays, and exams for an affordable yearly price. Call 607-754-2273 or 607-754-CARE to make an appointment today. For more information, visit our website at progressivedentalny.com.
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market today and every Tuesday through Sunday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And, of course, for that sweet tooth that you have, the Millhouse Market offering so much to you, from their homemade breads and desserts to quinoa bowls, rice bowls, salads, brick oven pizzas, and sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. It's not just a restaurant. It's a feeling. It's an emotion. It's part of the community. It's the fabric. There's something special about the Millhouse Market, and that's why it's worth the drive every single time. There's times where I've driven over half an hour to get to the Millhouse Market because from where I was, I just wanted those flavors. I wanted to support that company. That's when you know that it's special. That's when you know that it's truly unique and important, when your heart says to you, hey, I want to go out to Millhouse. They have a general store with local products from local companies. They have indoor bistro dining, which provides for you a different experience every single week because they change the menu. And they have a drive-through window where you can grab your food and go. Download the Millhouse Market app today and make it easier for yourself. Their entire menu is on the app on the Google Play or Apple App Store, as well as a map that will provide directions from wherever you are to the Millhouse Market. So easy, so simple, and so good. Millhouse Market, 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. Worth the drive every time. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. Inside the Cafe Football Studios, I am your host, Dan Tortora, and you are amazing. Never forget that. Just had a fantastic conversation with Mike Aresco. I can't wait to air this and share this on all of our pieces on Facebook, on YouTube, and so on and so forth. There's so many great things that we have from this conversation with Mike Aresco, and such a vital conversation to be had right now. You know, he literally wrote an open letter to us. He wrote it to, us in the media and to the world in general. He wrote an open letter to college football, and it got sent to us from the American Athletic Conference. And, it was very purposeful and well thought out. And it's a very lengthy, multi-layered letter. It's not a simple letter. It's this is something he didn't have to write. And not only did he not have to write it, but write what he did and everything that he said in it. So I definitely appreciate it. I think I'm going to share it on, I am going to share it on wakeupcalldt.com because I feel like it needs to be shared. But so that you can read it for yourself. But it's such an awesome experience always talking with Mike Aresco. And I appreciate it so very much. And to see how much he cares and to see the level that he's willing to go to express his thoughts and his feelings. It's reminiscent of how I am. And I think that's why, too, I can appreciate it so very much because I can second it. I have written letters. I have done things that I didn't have to do and expounded on things I didn't have to expound on and went the extra mile for something that maybe other people wouldn't do. Because when you care about something, you put it out there. When you care about something, you put your life on the line. When you care about something, you put yourself in a place where, you're blatantly honest. And I think being that and having that honesty is so imperative. I mean, in this letter that Mike Aresco, the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, wrote, he had to do his research, had to sit down and think about it, probably drafted a bunch of different versions of it, made corrections, moved things over. This is something that shows that somebody still cares in society. And that's why I value it. That's why I value the letter. You can agree with the letter or disagree with the letter by its points and whatnot, but what I appreciate from it is that he wrote it. What I appreciate from it is that he took time out of his life to share exactly how he feels. And I think that that's huge. So I want to thank Mike Aresco for that. Speaking of college football and speaking of, everything that's going on and putting yourself out there, how about this? The Conference USA has Marshall, Old Dominion, and Southern Mississippi leaving. However, they allegedly plan to leave by June 30th of this year, 2022. But Conference USA just released their football schedule, and it has all three of those teams in the football schedule, which has caused an issue here of what is going on. The Conference USA schedule is out, and the games are on here, and I'm looking through them all, and Marshall's there, and Old Dominion's there, and Southern Miss is there, all inside of the Conference USA Championship. Now, there's been some things that went on. I want to look at this here. Marshall did come out and make a statement. So Marshall said from a statement from Marshall University Department of Athletics. Marshall University has communicated to Conference USA that it will cease participation in the conference effective June 30th, 2022. The Thundering Herd will not participate in Conference USA during the 2022-2023 season. This decision comes after consideration of the best interests of Marshall's student athletes and its loyal fans. Marshall first advised the conference in early December 2021 of its desire to not participate in the conference after this current academic year. Since then, the university continued to communicate its intentions to Conference USA and has offered to find an amicable resolution to this matter. The conference refuses to discuss a resolution with the university. Our student athletes, coaches, staff, fan base, and the remaining members of Conference USA are deserving of clarity in this matter, thus the need for today's message. We are grateful for our 17 years of Conference USA membership, an era that will always be an important part of Thundering Herd history. Now it is time to turn the page to Marshall's future. So Marshall came out and made a public statement. When I reposted that last night, there had not been a statement from Southern Miss that I had seen, nor had there been one of Old Dominion. I'm looking here this morning. Conference USA made their own statement here from the Board of Directors. Conference USA intends to conduct the 2022-23 athletic year with the full 14 institution membership intact. Conference USA Board of Directors will exhaust all necessary legal actions to ensure all members meet their contractual obligations as defined by and agreed to in the Conference USA bylaws. Now, this is where we stand in today's collegiate climate. The giant question marks, right? The giant question marks. And what we've seen with conference realignment is that more often than not, when a school says, I want out, The conference negotiates, wants to make sure it gets paid, of course, and they find a way to let that school out sooner than later, typically before the agreed upon time. So if it's in the bylaws that it says you have to wait 2 years and pay $30 million, they might negotiate $22.5 million as an example. That's not an exact number, but they might negotiate down from 30, $22.5 million, and you can leave in a year. So, we've seen these negotiations. You saw things with Louisville, with Notre Dame, with Syracuse, with Pittsburgh when they went off into the ACC. Notre Dame for all sports except for football. But we've seen this, right? We've seen teams navigate out. Now, if there are bylaws in place, again, what is a contract worth to you? To me, a contract is everything. I don't do work without a contract because I don't trust that somebody's going to live up to it if it's just their word, because unfortunately, people's word in business and beyond is not always what they keep. So, when you have a contract signed, they have to, or they face legal action. In the world of where we stand today, I don't know all the inner workings of Conference USA because I am not in that room. But what I can tell you is, if they have a signed contract from Marshall, from Old Dominion, from Southern Miss, stating that they have to stay X amount of months, X amount of years, pay X amount of money, then they may want to leave, and that's cute, but they can't, right? I've told somebody that before. Dan, we're not doing marketing anymore. We're just going to stop paying. I told them that's a fantastic idea 4 months from now. Because for the next 4 months, you need to pay me. Because I've done my job. So you're going to have to do what you promised me. And then you can stop. But until these 4 months are over, you can't stop. See, what people hope is when they are unprofessional, when their business sense is poor, they hope that you will just not want to deal with them and that you'll take a bullet, take one for the team. In the case of Conference USA, if they have a legal document supporting how long a team needs to stay or a school needs to stay, and these schools are saying, yeah, we don't want to agree by what we signed, that's tough nuggies. Because there's nothing you could do. That's tough. Because in the world that I live in, contracts matter. So, now they have looked at the fact that they're looking to leave here. Now, I want to look at Southern Miss did release a statement. I want to take a look at the statement here. Now, this statement came out February 11th. It says the University of Southern Mississippi will terminate its membership in Conference USA effective June 30th, 2022. The university will not participate in Conference USA during the 2022-23 academic year. This decision comes after considering the best interest of the university and the entire Golden Eagle family, including nearly 350 student-athletes and thousands of fans and supporters. The university first advised Conference USA in early December 21 of the university's plans to terminate its membership in June 2022. Since then, the university has clearly and consistently repeated its intentions to the conference. The university has, from the outset, expressed its desire to work with Conference USA to achieve an amicable separation, including offering to cooperate to ensure that all remaining conference members had complete competitive schedules for those sports in which the university competes. Conference USA has so far refused to discuss any such arrangement with the university. Conference's unwillingness to discuss the concept of separation this year creates confusion and doubt for all concerned. The remaining members of Conference USA deserve certainty about their schedules as they plan for competition next year. For their sake, the university makes public its intent. While the university appreciates its time and experience as a Conference USA member, that time will end on June 30th, 2022. We wish Conference USA and its membership success in the future. That is a statement. That is an even more bold hello and wake you up in the morning statement. Now, Old Dominion had put out a statement at 3 p.m. on February 11th of this year. They said, it's a shorter statement, that's what they said. Old Dominion University will terminate its membership in Conference USA effective June 30th, 2022. University will not participate in Conference USA during the 2022-23 season. This decision comes after considering the best interests of the university and the Monarch family, including our 500 student athletes and hundreds of thousands of alumni and fans. The university first advised the conference in early December 2021 of the university's plan to terminate its membership in June 2022. Since then, the university has clearly and consistently repeated its intentions to the conference. The university offered to cooperate with the conference to ensure that all remaining Conference USA members had complete competitive schedules for those sports in which the university competes. Sounds just like Southern Miss. The conference refuses to discuss such an arrangement with the university. Remaining members of Conference USA deserve certainty about their schedules as they plan for competition next year. For their sake, the university makes public its intent. The university appreciates its time and experience as a Conference USA member. So, copy and paste from Southern Miss, but Southern Miss added more. And then the statement from Marshall came out also on February 11th that I was reading here. And so I do want to make clear that they have all made statements, and I did not readily have the Southern Miss and Old Dominion one ahead of me. Now I do, because I want to make sure that there's transparency and clarity always on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So, with that being said, this is where we're at. And where we're at in the show is time to jump into the ingredients to success. Proudly brought to you by Avicolli's. That'll come up right after this fast break. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City. corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also, I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was, selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for being a part of the show. It is time for the ingredients to success, a new topic and its ingredients here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. And typically this is with you every single Tuesday, but we had our Marywood Mania takeover yesterday, and so we're doing the ingredients to success today, proudly presented by Avicolli's, but you can make sure that you look out for it every Tuesday at 10:50 a.m. Eastern Time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. So with that being said, Avicolli's, the proud partner of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, presenting this segment, Ingredients to Success. Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. Open Tuesday through Sunday. And, of course, they are there for you for takeout, delivery, and catering by calling 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. You can also get in touch with them by going to myavicollis.com. That's my AVICOLL. is.com. So, with that being said, the ingredients to success, something that I said to you a few years back, and some of you remember this. Establish value, or value will not be established, is today's topic. Establish value, or value will not be established. Establish value, or value will not be established. That's today's topic for the ingredients to success. What does that mean? Well, to me, when I said it, it hit me in the moment. If you do not establish value of yourself to other people, value will not be established. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to treat you that well. It doesn't mean they're not going to give you the value that you deserve. What it means is you have set your bar. You have established your value. That does not mean someone's going to give it to you, but it means that you have drawn your line. So when they don't give it to you, you move on. Girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, boss, neighbor, friend, peer, coworker. Establish value, or value will not be established. Establish your worth and be clear about it. And when someone doesn't treat you your worth, move forward. Now, there's another element to this. Do you know your worth? Because some people consider themselves unworthy. Some people consider themselves worthy only of negativity, only of abuse, only of hate, only of pain. Some people think they deserve the worst. So the value that they establish is either none or it's very low. So first and foremost, you have to understand that every human life matters. God woke you up today for a reason, and that wasn't to complain, and it wasn't to feel sorry for yourself, and it was not to be negative and downtrodden and let people walk all over you. That is not why God woke you up. I cannot say that I could say everything that God knows and everything that God says and everything that God believes, but I am very confident that God did not wake you up today to have a bad day, to be abused, to be used, and to be told that you're not worth anything. Now, I've had conversations this week that have made me feel like someone is treating me with no value, and I've had conversations with other people about the fact that they feel like they're not valued. So I felt the need today to bring this up. Establish value or value will not be established. Establish your value. Now, I believe I'm priceless. I don't believe you can put a value. What do I mean by that? I mean that lying to me once, you might as well lie to me 100 times. Cheating on me once, you might as well cheat on me 100 times. Disrespecting my business once, you might as well disrespect my business 100 times. Because I'm the type of person that does not wait around for people to waste my time. My value has been established, and I worked on it, and I know it, and I know it. And establishing it is me telling people, I will not date you if this is how you treat me. I will not work with you if this is how you treat me. I will not be friends with you if this is how you treat me. And I don't care if you're my family, I will not sit down and break bread with you even if we have the same blood if this is how you treat me. Establish value or value will not be established. Or value will not be established. That is the second part of it. If you do not establish value, you allow people to treat you however they want to treat you. And they're going to treat you however they want to treat you anyways, but you have the right to say no. And when you tell someone exactly how you want to be treated, you've put yourself in a situation to tell them, if you do not meet this treatment, if you do not treat me this way, and it's not demanding. Somebody who's selfish and someone who doesn't want to be good to other people will tell you it's demanding, and they'll tell you it's selfish. But the reality of it all is there is nothing wrong whatsoever with telling somebody what you're worth and what you're not willing to put up with. And the people that don't appreciate that don't appreciate you. If I met somebody and said, Dan, I don't want to be lied to in business, I would say, me neither. Dan, I don't want to be cheated on. Me neither. Dan, I want to be able to trust my inner circle. Me too. Dan, I don't want any yes men. Me neither. See, my criteria of value is no lies, no cheating, no disrespect, no calling names, no putting me down, no personal attacks. I think it's basic. I think everybody should ask for that. But some people feel calm and okay with negative treatment and abuse. And those people need to be told that it's not okay. Because if we do not establish value, value will never be established. And I cannot tell you enough, folks, that I've seen people hurt because they were not honest with how they believe they should be treated. You cannot control the actions and the words of another, but you can tell them where the line is. And when that line is crossed, everybody, I believe in most cases people deserve a second chance. Right? I think if they cheat on you or they murder, then But I believe that most things warrant a second chance. But you have to show and prove. And you have to show and prove immediately. If that person commits a sin and then commits it right after, boom, again, then now I'm looking at this person saying, the person told you their value. They established it, crossed the line, and you crossed it again. And I think people that cross and cross and cross and cross, you have to understand that is who they are. That is who they are. Everybody makes mistakes. But when you do it the second and the third and the 12th and the 15th and the 50th time, it's not a mistake anymore. I had a friend who dated a girl who infidelity was a normal thing for them. She cheated on him over 30 times with the same person. I said, that's not cheating, that's a relationship. That means that she has 2 boyfriends. I genuinely believe that each and every single one of us has to establish our value. And we have to be clear about it. Because when you are not you open yourself up to Pandora's box. Now, people still will throw Pandora's box at you even when you say this is my value, but it is up to you to draw a line. It is up to you to establish who you are. It is up to you to say what you will and will not take. And when you tell somebody you won't take it, and then you take it, that tells that person that you weren't serious about your value. And now you've devalued yourself and accepted the lower value that somebody was willing to give you. And I guarantee you that if you lower your value to accept someone's deceit and someone's sin and someone's wrongdoing, they will only devalue you more and more until you feel like you have no value. So establish it, stick by it, and be confident that God didn't wake you up today to be used, abused, lied to, pushed, and treated as if you don't matter. I want to see everybody be successful. I want to see everybody have a good life. I want to see everybody happy. And we can't do that if our value is not established and we don't stick by the values that we have. So with that being said, I would love to thank the great people at Avicolli's for establishing value in our community so that value is established. Avicolli's, corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. Tuesday through Sunday open in their dining area, as well as Tuesday through Sunday for takeout, catering, and delivery by calling 315-622-5100. It's 315-622-5100. Want to thank you for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. You're listening on internet streaming radio everywhere in the world by going to mixlr.com/WakeUpCallDT. That's mixlr.com/WakeUpCallDT. And of course, on the homepage of WakeUpCallDT.com, where the MixLR feed is embedded. I also want to make a very special thank you to all of the wonderful places that have accepted our show. You can search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, and more. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on any one of these platforms, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. That being said, thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Cubal, Carvel DeWitt, Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's. Man, it is a great time always to get your popcorn ready, and you can do it anywhere in the country by ordering at maandpazpopcorn.com. And for those of us that are very spoiled, we can go to 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, and get whatever we want, whenever we want, Monday through Saturday at maandpazpopcorn.com. And when I say whatever we want, I'm saying all different types of flavors of kettle corn and popcorn. I'm talking about chocolate-covered Oreos. I'm talking about pretzel sticks. I'm talking about cotton candy and lemonade and just amazing, amazing, amazing treats that make us feel we're at an amusement park every day. Progressive Dental, Avicolli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, the Millhouse Market, Lemoyne Dolphins, Pizza Man, Honda City of Liverpool, PB&J's Lunchbox, the home of my nachos. Go out and get them today. The DTCNY nachos are available exclusively at PB&J's, 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Victory Sports Medicine Orthopedics and Mother's Cupboard. I also would like to remind everybody that we are proud to be the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of 3 fantastic colleges and universities, and I want to thank the Lemoyne Dolphins. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. Every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time is Dolphin Time, and you will find first and third Wednesday AD and DT new episodes with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. Every second and fourth Wednesday, the Dolphin Dive will feature student athletes, coaches, staff members, future Dolphins, as well as alum. Any one of those can be a guest on the Dolphin Dive, and you never know who's coming up next. And I'm always excited to tell the incredible stories that I'm so honored to have told already and everything that is to come. Find out all of our Lemoyne information, stories, and more, and all of our specials entitled Dolphin Dive and AD and DT by going to wakeupcalldt.com, clicking on the Lemoyne tab, or going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, searching Lemoyne and clicking subscribe. You can find out more information at LeMoyneDolphins.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Marywood University Pacers. It is Pacer Pride all day, day. And of course, on Fridays between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we have our specials entitled Pacer Pride with the Marywood Pacers. We just had the Marywood Mania takeover with 4 coaches on site on location at the Hall of Fame room at Marywood University. And you can go back and watch that video on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. See all of our videos there. And of course, subscribe to wakeupcalldt.com and bookmark the Marywood page. Find out more information at marywoodpacers.com. The Bobcat Buzz, happening for you every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. The Bryan and Stratton College Syracuse Bobcats coming to you every single month. And our first ever inaugural episode of the Bobcat Buzz is now airing on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And of course, the Bryan and Stratton page on wakeupcalldt.com will be featuring this as well. Make sure that you check out all of our specials with the Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats in Syracuse, New York, including our roundtable discussion with their head men's soccer coach, women's soccer coach, men's basketball coach, women's basketball coach, and up-and-coming baseball coach, all there on one show at one time together in that roundtable discussion of the Bobcat Buzz, jumping off our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership here on February 1st, 2022 with the Bryan and Stratton Bobcats. Find out more by going to syracuse.bsc for Bryan and Stratton College, syracuse.bscbobcats.com, syracuse.bscbobcats.com. Check it out there, and thank you to the Bobcats for all that they do on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So, and with all of that being said, I want to thank my fantastic guest, Mike Aresco, for a very, very deep conversation on college football following his open letter to college football that was sent out to us in the media. I do want to give a special thanks to Avicolli's for the ingredients to success. I want to thank Cafe Kubal for our studio partnership, and I want to thank you for being incredible. Find us on the socials at Wake Up Call DT on the Facebook, at Call DT on the Twitter, and at wakeupcall_DT on Instagram. Of course, on YouTube, as I mentioned, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And as always, and now more than ever, God bless, no stress. Do your best. God bless,